Hi guys, welcome back to That Ain't Meta podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Avatar, not the blue people.
Yes, the blue people.
Not the blue people.
Yes, the blue people with the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh, that'll be another one. But yeah, we're going to talk about our takes. One of the members of the podcast, Bubba, has never seen it before. Well, the three of us actually grew up watching it. We watched it when it originally aired. But it was nice to have a fresh take, see everything in a new light, and kind of just, discuss why it's seen as a phenomenon and why it's trending now on Netflix, even though it's been out forever. But yeah, let's just break it down bit by bit. How about you, Bubba? You started.
The series itself is not cool. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty good, Zuko's still F tier. That doesn't change. He's always F tier. Iroh's infinite S tier. It's guaranteed. Show itself is pretty good. You can obviously tell it's a children's show, and I'm also big brain, so a lot of it was very predictable, which is fine because it wasn't like it was bad predictable. It's a good show. You just sit down, you watch, and you're like, yeah, it's pretty fun. It's got some action. It's got big brain. It's got a lot of big brain, actually. I don't know why this was catered to a kids audience, because they would not understand any of that shit. But it's okay. Just subliminal messaging. They hear it. It's gonna be in their brain. But it's probably something they should rewatch when they're much older, when they actually understand things that happen in life. So, who wants to take it from there?
We accept all opinions here on the That Ain't Meta podcast, even if they're wrong.
A little bit of
But
Well, I think Bubba brings up a good point about how the show, even though it was made for kids, it has a lot of very mature lessons and themes that I think he was right in saying that will go over a lot of kids' heads.
I think they translate well, though.
They do translate well, but I think it is worth giving it a watch when you're older, just because of those morals and lessons that the show does try to
that can actually help you in life. These are actual very good lessons that I have done in my own lifetime that actually help.
I have something to say about the demographic. The demographic for animation as a medium is not innately tied to an age. You can cater something to someone, but I don't think Avatar is an animation that's catered really to any certain audience. I think they're limited by what platform they're on. Yes. Nickelodeon obviously wouldn't let them do certain things.
Yeah.
But I think it's not really catered to children. I think it's something that's catered to everyone. And even if it was, you could still have a parent be there to explain to a child what the theme is trying to portray.
Honestly, if I'm being honest, I don't think most parents would even understand. It's like really big brain.
I don't know.
You have to go out of your way to understand some of the philosophical stuff that they're trying to tell you.
Well, and then that's, I think, a positive.
It is a positive.
Well, I think that the depth that the show offers, and then you add on the fact that it's limited by the platform it's on, if you take that into consideration, that is why it's a top tier show. Honestly, with its limitations, it managed to tell a better story than most live action interpretations of long told stories. And I don't know. It's there's not a lot to say that's negative about it, other than
the animation. Book
one's animation and pacing didn't age well, but it was also the studio's first crack at it, and they didn't know how it was going to be received. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like a trial run, and then but it really once they figured out that this is catching on. You get to the last 3 episodes, and you see the growth. You're like, okay, Nickelodeon gave the green light, and they're like, go. Okay, you can take it. People are watching it. People are loving it, and they got the creative freedom that they needed to. But even then, just the growth from book 1 to book 3 never seemed inorganic, despite book 1 not aging as well as the other 2. It felt like a cohesive story. That's another topic as well. I know you feel a certain way about Zuko, but it is arguable that he has one of the best redemption arcs and the most realistic redemption arcs throughout a lot of animation.
I agree.
I agree, but
Because it was frustrating. It doesn't mean it was any less frustrating. It doesn't mean that you couldn't be angry. I think most people were angry with season 2's finale, especially when it aired and then you had nothing to look forward to. You were just
that would have been
well,
You're
that
like,
just
bro,
happened.
What is this man doing?
I mean, I think that's the point though, because changes within people don't usually happen that fast, and then
Which they did very well.
Especially, and he was what, 17, 16?
17.
17? Like, that's 17 years of what he got reinforced at home.
Yeah.
That was his life. You know, Ozai basically was his life after his mom Ursa left. So it's like, that's all he knows. It's like, it's hard when he's given like the bait. You know, Azula drops, oh yeah, you have a get out of jail free card. You can have everything back. It's hard to not understand that he would just take that. You know, despite, and he's hurting. And
he's also the product of, you know, not a good dad.
A banana tree.
Not a good family life, period.
Yeah, like, I mean, the royal family has always been, well, I mean, I can't say about pre-Sozin. Even like Sozin didn't seem that fucked up from the beginning.
Yeah,
I think Sozin really started it all. Sozin, like, his ambitions were so big and grand that he kind of blindsided everything and sacrificed everything and ingrained that into his people and his family, which kind of ruined everything after that. I also think, I know, I'm not, a lot of people have brought this up. I honestly just think that Ozai was rotten from the beginning. Some people were born that way. I think Ozai, you can argue that, you know, he was a product of the family setting, but man, he was just evil to the core.
But when your dad's also, you know,
I don't know,
killed an entire race.
His great grandfather did.
But you know, that also, it's like I said, it's a cycle of abuse that keeps on continuing until someone breaks it.
Yeah,
and nobody broke it until Zuko.
I guess you have the dichotomy with him and Iroh. You know, I don't know. I guess maybe there was a similar situation with what happened with Zuko and Azula with the mom and dad dynamic. We don't know how Azulan's wife was. You know, maybe you can assume she was like Ursa and raising Iroh a certain way. But also Iroh, apparently, you know, he was a general. He did his thing. I mean, what changed him was his son's death.
Yeah.
So maybe the whole dichotomy thing just started with Azula and Zuko.
Did you know about Little Soldier Boy?
Bruh.
You say, oh.
You wanna cry?
Hmm?
You wanna cry?
Ooh,
Here,
boy.
you can cry now. Oh man, yeah, the little boy that cried at the beginning of it was you at the end of it. It was a cycle.
I do think it was interesting, or I think it's very interesting how Avatar doesn't just touch on like a lot of kids shows will touch on the basic be a nice person and share your stuff and don't get mad at other people and don't be violent and stuff, but Avatar takes it a step further and explores philosophy and ethics as well as some mental health stuff towards the end with Azula and Zuko, and I think that's very mature.
It's also a very good point right now.
Very true. But you don't really see that a lot in real, animation.
Yeah. Because,
in itself.
People treat kids like they're dumb, but they're not that dumb.
Yeah.
They still understand certain things. And I think it's cool that shows now are starting to realize that they can tell, deep stories to a kid audience because they're not dumb. They're going to experience things.
That's why our audience is here. They're the big brain. You don't expect no small brain here. And if you're a small brain, you come over here, you become big brain. So make sure to tell all your friends.
Grow brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Avatar is so important in my life, is because that was the first form of media that did that for me. Talk about mature themes such as, the inner workings of forgiveness and revenge with Katara's storyline, and how some people you just can't forgive. But living with that and moving forward is an option. You don't have to forgive to move forward, but you do have to understand that the pent up energy of like regret, anger, fear, like if you bottle that up inside and try to direct it towards the people you love, or like, you know, or that person in general, it won't make you feel any better. And I think they really nailed that, like talking about the duality of it, and like the cycle of war and violence that, you know, humanity has kind of perpetuated over time. It's like, you've done me wrong, it is only right in my
to do you dirty.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's in my right to do you wrong now, and it's a cycle, and it's a back and forth. And you know, Katara was able to break that cycle for her. That was really cool and refreshing, and it was amazing that they could teach that to kids, because I feel
they
like
could
that's
teach it, but it doesn't mean that they're gonna learn it.
But I think that's the most important time to learn that. You know, as an adult, you already have that ingrained. You know, and it's hard to change.
Like I said, they can't really understand it. They probably don't understand what that was supposed to mean or how to apply it. Like,
well,
it's
at a base level, what they learned from that was she didn't kill him.
That's true.
So it wasn't the right way to do it at the base level, and that's in itself an important lesson too.
It also still stays in their brains. It doesn't just go away.
Yeah, and that also like melds into like Aang's journey. What I do agree with is that they could have done a better job with the inner conflict Aang was having near the end. Like the last 3 episodes, you know, really talked about it, but I feel like they could have done a better job kind of tackling that maybe throughout like the end of book 2 and into book 3, like him realizing I have to kill someone, but I can't because of my ideals and the way I've grown.
Yeah, it was
like,
pretty sudden how it just smack to the face. Oh, now he has problems.
And now he has to deal with it. It's just like, and it was also like unfair to like for this 12-year-old kid to just deal with it in a day. It's just like, it would have been more organic if he'd grown like through that at least book 3 to the decision. No, I'm going to stand by my ideals and find a way, and then, you know, leading to the lion turtle and everything. I felt like that would have been a little more organic. But I also understand they had time limits and storyboard limits.
And applying of urgency and like
they used that. They used that as a device to feel like, oh, it's happening, leading into the finale. I get that. From a storytelling point of view, it just would have been better. I feel like maybe like even just 2 episodes earlier, and having that theme perpetuated for the last few episodes until it built up into something, instead of just, whoop, now he has to deal with it. But I don't know. I also loved that they decided, you know, Aang was not going to do what the world asked of him. He didn't have to throw away everything he knew and loved and learned just for the idea of, the world wants you to do this, that means it's right. And that's not necessarily, I feel like that's really appropriate to times now. It's just, and like even throughout
life
history.
in general.
Yeah, throughout history, you know, what the world deems is right and what numbers deem right isn't also necessarily what's ethically right. You've developed your own ethical code, and to throw that away for the good of the world, I understand as the Avatar, that's kind of part of the job, but also he was able to uphold that while still saving the world. And I don't know, I think that's important. It's an important message to kids too. It's like, you don't have to throw away your self-preservation and your self-worth in order to please the world. You know, obviously not in the same dire situation, dire circumstances. But like,
kill a man.
But the underlying theme of like, you are you, and you don't have to throw away your ideals for anyone else, was a really awesome lesson. You know, and like the fact that he upheld that, and you know, no other Avatar could do that. He did as a 12-year-old. Like that was really cool.
Choose your own destiny, kids.
Always remember that nothing is ever just like a simple black or white like choice. There's always like not not infinite, but there's always a lot more than just two right or wrong.
Yes.
Nothing's ever so simple.
There's black and white, and there's every color in between that spectrum. Every little bit of gray is a different option. So choose yours.
Yeah, like that's like I feel like the show did that they did wonderfully, especially with Zuko and with Aang, and throughout even in book 1 to 3, the duality that they showed, like they would always have like shots that would frame Aang's face and then going into Zuko's, or would frame like Zuko's face on the side of his scar early on in the series a lot, but then in the later series they would frame his other side to show like his evolution. And like I don't know, like and the show really hammered down that like it's not always black and white. Even if your people, your whole people, the Fire Nation, have always like this is, you know, taking over the world is right. You know, and then you have Azula is like the embodiment of that. And but like Zuko slowly learns that it's not black and white. Like we're actually hurting people and we're blinded by the idea of selfishness and conquest and greed. But like it was, I think Azula was an important addition to the story because it kind of exemplified the idea of, you know, blind trust in, you know, authoritative figures. And
yeah, it also shows the issue with politics and how strong and manipulative they can be. Because everything they did in the Fire Nation, oh, the Fire Nation's good, you did it, you did good, everyone's cheering them on, but in reality they're actually the villains. But they just don't know it. That's why they treat it as some godly, amazing place. You watch all the kids, they don't know what's happening. They just see it as it just is.
Yeah, it's also the corruption of power and how like wanting to be in positions of power drives you to do anything.
mm-hmm.
And
Leads
drive
you
away
mad.
your friends and the people you love.
Yeah.
Also brainwashing.
That too.
Oh yeah.
That's scary.
PSA. They like never knew anything beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, they were benefiting from it, so why would they complain?
Propaganda.
Yeah.
One of the biggest brain episodes and one of like the most beautifully crafted episodes I think was the episode that revealed Zuko's heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And what Aang said at the end of the episode really rang home. Like, and they did this throughout the series really well too. Was everyone is capable of great good and great evil. It can be the Fire Nation. It can be the Earth Kingdom. I think like the whole Ba Sing Se arc really nailed that on the head. That the Fire Nation isn't just the inherent big evil in the world. Everyone can be evil. Long Feng can be evil. He was brainwashing people, using the Dai Li as a power crutch. Like it really showed that, you know, it's easy to make it black and white and point fingers and to direct all of your hate towards one evil thing. And I think humanity's really good at that.
Oh yeah.
You know, but it was really cool how, you know, that's why I like book 2 a lot, just because it kind of like showed that again, like evil is capable in any hands. And that's why everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves like more than one or more than two sometimes to show that they, you know, there is great good in everybody, but it's easy to get corrupted and it's easy to point fingers and it's easy to say you're all evil, you know. And also like especially talking about the Fire Nation episode where he went to school and showed like the kids, like they're not born that way, they're bred that way, you know.
Yeah, I also liked how, continuing on the point of like how good book 2 and the whole Ba Sing Se part of the show is, I really like how that part of the show shows that like everybody like has their own problems, but they're also but they're all also like always communicating with each other and their lives are interconnected in ways they might not realize. I think I really liked how just all that ties in with the Ba Sing Se arc. Everybody's doing their own little thing, their own little problems, but there's also still like a big thing going on, and they all have their small part to play in that thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all the big brain themes we have to talk about?
I think so.
I can talk about representation, how Avatar does it really well.
It actually does. It does do a really good job of representation. And I love the fact that it's not just, here, spoon down your fucking throat, here, eat it, yummy, yummy. It's like, no, it's actual good, comfortable portion. They're just like, hey, I respect that. That's cool, you know? You want to do that? You can do that. It's like, it says, hey, it's okay. You don't have to do it. It's there, it's welcome, and it's open for your representation of it.
I feel like the most effective way to display representation is integration in a normal setting.
Exactly.
It's normalizing it. Instead of putting it in the forefront, it's a part of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of society. It's accepted. It's there. You don't need to sacrifice other parts of like your storytelling to exemplify it. It's just there. Yeah. And I feel like that's more powerful, especially for younger minds, because when it's already ingrained, it's like, so what if this is an interracial couple? So what if this person's gay? So what if this person's an immigrant? That's the only thing going through their mind when it's integrated like that. You know?
Endgame.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you can take more onto it.
Well, I think the way they handle Toph's blindness is like very powerful for like especially someone who would deal with something like that.
Also, wheelchair kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made them strong characters, but also Toph never like got angry at the fact she was blind. She would even like crack jokes about it. Like you could tell she was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And she like never let it hinder her. Yeah. Obviously, she understood that like there was something she couldn't do, but she would always try to make up for it in other ways.
You can also just talk about how like she was very comfortable in not just being a girly girl.
Yeah.
She was very into like quote unquote masculinity or like strong things.
Yeah, the fact that she goes to the play and sees him like hears a masculine person playing her, she's like, I love
she's
that.
Like, that's awesome.
She
like
was
that's
also
really
a wrestler.
Yeah, like, that's really cool, you know, like show people that like it's okay to be a tomboy. You don't have to be the girly girl everyone tells you to be.
You can be
What's interesting is they also tackled the negative aspects of masculinity with a female character.
Exactly.
They allowed her to be able to break down and cry over something and have the support of Katara without sacrificing that part of herself. Yeah. And I think that was really, really strong. That's why, again, Tales of Ba Sing Se, probably the best episode.
That, like, and they also have like the show tackles toxic masculinity in the way of like Ozai versus Iroh, and how you have one father figure who is just, you need to be strong, you need to be aggressive, you need to be violent. And that's the only way that makes you like a man. Then you have Iroh comes in and he's like, no, you can be strong and prideful, but also caring and helping other people and wanting to like be strong in that way.
Yeah, emotion isn't weakness.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a whole big thing.
And then Iroh can still kick some ass. Though.
Exactly. No, and I think Sokka's the biggest like that was his story arc was I'm a man and you're a woman and you can't do this. That was the whole that was his whole arc in book 1. I'm gonna say this about
and he learned from it.
Exactly with Suki. Well, I'm gonna say this about book 1. I think part of the reason why people say it doesn't age well is because they're if they've seen the series, their last idea of the Team Avatar is book 3. So jumping back to book 1 with your preconceived notion of book 3's characters that are already developed, it's like culture shock. But like if you remove that, I think book 1 does a decent job. Yeah. I think its journeys and the themes it tackles, I think like as far as dealing with responsibility and dealing with being the Avatar and that his spiritual journey throughout that and dealing with the fact that he lost his people but he grew to gain another family. That was really cool. You know, I think book 1 did a really good job with its themes and it definitely is underrated. And because obviously the animation didn't end well, that's subjective.
My first watch through, I placed 3 at the last. Like, yes, it has the best action scenes and whatnot, but I feel like philosophically wise and just like the pacing and everything just doesn't really flow well. It's just like, here we have massive budget, let's put all the fight scenes here, and I understand like it's the finale and whatnot, but it's just a little much. Like you need to fuse everything back together.
You can have to tell that they probably had more episodes planned.
Yeah,
things up.
That's what's frustrating.
Yeah, especially like the freaking lion turtles are like a kind of a Deus Ex Machina, but
Let me show you about
Yeah.
this.
Hello, I was never here.
Yeah, what's frustrating is that, again, they don't get a book 4 to explain it. They don't get, like, and the cool thing, though, is that I know people say, no, they just had this in mind when they were making book 3. This has been foreshadowed since book 2. In the sand library.
that's true.
They had pictures of them.
Yeah.
There were subtle hints.
Yeah, but you can
Was
tell they
it?
want
Yeah, like it.
more.
Exactly, and like I feel like book 4 could have fleshed that out. Granted, they did that in Korra.
We're not gonna talk about
We're
that.
not gonna talk about that.
What's that? It doesn't exist.
We'll talk about it
Another time.
another time.
Well,
But
Bubba brought something up. Is Avatar? Could you consider Avatar an anime?
Thank you for looking at it the subjective term what anime means, Japanese animation, then no. But if you're referring to it as a term of media and the depiction of how it's presented, then
When
yes.
did I ever present this question? I don't remember this.
No, you said
called it an
you called
anime.
it an anime. Some people would roast you for that.
Yeah.
No, okay.
because it's a big debate. I don't know why it is. To be honest, I don't care.
I mean, I think it's easy to say that it is a Western cartoon, obviously influenced by anime.
And if
Does it
it's-
matter?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
well, at the end of the day, it
anime.
doesn't matter.
See,
No.
title does not denote quality.
Yeah.
I think that's where people are mistaking things. Just you can call it a cartoon, and it still have better storytelling than 50% of anime.
You
Honest
call
to
it
God.
anime, and it still has 50% more.
You can call it whatever you
of
want.
cartoon.
It's just animation.
Yeah.
Good
You know what it is? It's a show.
Yeah,
No,
you
it
have
is
yeah.
meta.
It's like the difference between calling a TV show a show and a series.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
but yeah, again, like breaking it down, it's just you don't have. It doesn't have to be called an anime for it to be held higher.
Yeah.
I think people misconstrue that, but yeah, it can be whatever you want. You can call it Glass. Who cares? Like
Hey, that's a movie.
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
You can
Doesn't
call it
ch-
drawings
yeah.
put together to make animation.
It doesn't take away from everything that it is. You know.
True.
But we could talk about bending.
Bending could also tie into world building.
That is true.
Hoo-ha?
World
building.
World building?
But let's
World
start.
bending.
Let's start with bending. Let's start with bending.
I think it was really cool growing up, as a little kid, seeing, those kung fu movies, and then seeing that in like an animated form.
That was cool.
Yeah, and then seeing how all these and how all the 4 different bending styles elements are based off of different forms of kung fu
Yeah.
is very cool to see. I think I'm pretty sure a lot of the fight scenes are rotoscoped, which is like animation on top of like real life things.
Either that or
So it's-
referenced.
Yeah, but so it's like they just drew over people actually doing things in real life, and I think it gives us like this really believable quality
Yeah.
to the fight scenes and the movements of
Yeah,
the
the
bending.
repositioning of the foot and like the building your posture back up
Yeah,
to
I think
reestablish
that's
balance
the
and all
most
that.
visually striking part is the postures that they have and the
Mhm.
way they just like flow into all the movements.
I think the
It's
shot
really, really
composition
cool.
really helps with that too.
Yeah.
They know
they
they
do
got
a really good job of
they got
direction.
people that knew how to film fights,
Hmm.
which is really important. You can know how to animate them, but like if you don't know how to shoot them, then it kind of lacks a lot of luster and a lot of impact.
Yeah. I honestly kind of wish that the fight between Aang and Ozai had a bit more like grounded combat.
That is true. You don't really get
Yeah.
to see their postures and how strong they really are in their own arts.
But I could argue that Aang didn't really want to fight Ozai.
That is true.
And also, Ozai was very strong and wanted to kill him,
Yeah,
and Aang didn't want to
Having the buff from
Actually, yeah.
having
'cause
the buff
Aang
from the
didn't-
comet made that kind of grounded fight impossible unless Aang was gonna fight back with
the
fire
Avatar
the whole
state.
time.
Yeah.
That's true.
the Agni Kai was kind of what you were craving.
Yeah.
That kind of exemplified all kind of grounded combat. And let me tell you, that fight was like
Pretty.
that was the magnum opus of the series, in my honest opinion. Like how the tone was like Bubba mentioned it, like it was like when we were watching it, it's kind of like that melancholy, that dread. It wasn't
Yeah,
like it wasn't
and-
heroic or like anime, you know?
Yeah. It's like the music tells it really well. Like there's like even if it was just a fraction of a second, you could instantly hear it was not a fight for like power. It was a fight that was just kind of a miserable thing that was happening, that was going on. It was a fight between her sanity and her keeping power. It was a fight between her, her sister or his sister, and the fact that he has to rule over this kingdom and change the whole nation, but he doesn't even know if he wants to do that. There is no happy ending for both of them, which is why when the song plays, you instantly hear that and you're like, oh shit, this isn't something to be happy for or anything of that sort.
It was hot and heavy, but it also like got to show like, the grandiose nature of firebending, and like how like it's all about like from the beginning of the series, it's all been like all offense, all aggression, and like it kind of you got to see that in action, and it was so pretty. Like also like the dichotomy of the red and the blue was super cool.
Which is actually really interesting because
the dragons.
Well, that and like normally blue is good, red is bad, but in this situation, those colors are reversed, which I think is very interesting.
Also, something to say about the music again. I think the way the music sounds is like a bunch of minor keys and like, oh, this is going down. I think it plays into the tragic nature of Azula's character.
Exactly.
And how she's like broken.
Yeah, her psychosis. Like her psychosis.
It's a tragedy.
Her psychosis has reached an extreme magnum opus to the point where she's just dying.
It also represents like Zuko's not like anger at himself, but like disappointment at himself that it took him so long to get there.
Yeah.
Because he knows like this is what he's meant to be doing, but like he's upset that it took him so long to realize this.
And like the sad part, like is like his realization that if I got in here faster, maybe I could have saved her. Like he could have saved her. Like and that I think it's like that's exemplified by the end of the battle and how he looks at her and like it's just like damn, it hits you like it's so hard. But even how the fight was like composed and like the shots and how the music muted out the physical like sounds of the fighting. That was like it kind of like pulled you in, and again that fight was amazing.
It really reminded me of the Bloodborne fight with Ludwig, and when he transforms to the second stage, it's really just like it's just so tragic, and it's like wow, it really just hits you in the feels, and it's just like damn, there is no. My one issue with the fight though, a little bit too much flame. You didn't really get to see too much of them. It was just fire everywhere, which I understand they're really strong, but I kind of want to see the people doing it because it was just a little everywhere and a little much.
That's fair, but I think...
But I understand. They want to go all out. They want to use their budget and everything, but for my personal taste, it was way heavy on the eyes.
From a storytelling aspect,
it makes sense because like they're not fighting as focused as they could be. It's very like because we kind of see that
they're both fucked up at this point.
And we also see that like Zuko learns the proper way to firebend, which is just based off like motivation and
drive,
that energy inside of you. Azula's still bending off of just her emotions, namely like rage and anger,
lust for power,
and that's what she's feeling. So she's not fighting focused. It's just an explosion of anger that and frustration.
But and like I guess we can hop off on that with the true nature of firebending and like their inclusion of like South American heritage with the Sun Warriors and like their like the Aztec or Incan style buildings, and it was cool how they kind of tied that into the original firebenders and how the Fire Nation kind of adopted that and then corrupted the style into something more focused, which makes sense when you're trying to line up a whole military.
Well, they made it more militant.
Yeah, exactly. It was easy to just it's focused rage. That's all it is, and it's easy to teach lots and lots of people, and it's easy to raise down people that way. So it makes sense why they corrupted it in that form. But it was really awesome to see how like Zuko in his journey of self-discovery kind of relearned firebending, and it became a different man. Even how he fought, like in that last battle, his battles thus far have been him losing control and anger and frustration and him losing his cool and never being like fully in it. The roles kind of reversed with him and Azula. He was always the one just like in control the whole time, and that was really cool to see that switch. But again, like even like just looking at firebending in that way was like how raw it could be, and like how it's passion. It's not just destruction; it's life, and like I don't know. Like firebending is probably my favorite type of bending.
It also plays into the duality of the element of fire and how it could represent a lot of things.
Yeah,
Destruction in life.
it's I think one of the most complex forms because earth, air, and water are all around. The earth provides you with it, and it's not. The thing with fire, it's that it comes from you,
It comes from man.
and it's one of the only bending arts that has
Yeah,
a
you
life
can
of
just
its
go, like,
yeah,
poof.
yeah. It has a life of its own, and you can lose control of it. The other elements don't have that nature to it, which makes it so complex and so interesting. That's why I love it, and like the fact that focused to a fine degree it can be even bended into plasma and lightning. It's just so cool. But one of y'all want to talk about the other?
You talk about water?
I was gonna say, that being said, which bending styles would you guys like to use if you had to pick one? Because
It'd be fire for me, definitely.
you only get one.
For me, it'd be water.
Yeah.
I just like how focused it is and how it could be defensive but also offensive. And just general things about water is cool. Like how you could bend the atmosphere. Because when you think about it, most things in life rely on water to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And how you could change like the way water is, make it frozen, make it water itself, or it goes into bloodbending. How you control the water in people.
I think that's the biggest brain part about water and fire is temperature control. That's a big one up on a lot of the other ones. But yeah, like the dichotomy between the sun being the source of firebender's power and the moon being the source of waterbender's power. That was a really cool dichotomy.
Gravity.
What about you, Bubba? What's your bending? Your Bubba bending?
Bubba bending.
Chainsaws, the fuck you mean?
Disgusting.
Bending do I use?
Disgusting.
I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss. Part of me says water just for the manipulation of bloodbending, but a part of me also says earth just because of how defensive it is and how straight.
I would see you as an earthbender.
Of how like straightforward and how like defensive and how down to earth it is, literally down to earth. And the fact that you can like make yourself a suit of rock armor, and how like if you were to master other elements, you could make other variants of armor, and just it would be really raw. I don't know.
I feel like bending itself plays into the personality of the bender. Because Toph was talking about it.
Well, yeah.
When you have to be
Like
to
that-
be
that's
an earthbender,
why-
you have to be assertive.
Like unyielding.
Yeah.
Stable. The complete opposite of an airbender.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. The cultural aspect of bending is also such a cool like part of the world building where they nailed it. You know,
Yeah,
it wasn't just a power; it was a part of the show.
I think I'm gonna have to go with earth because like bloodbending is the fact that you can like manipulate, but you could also do the same thing with earth. So I'm gonna go with earth because you form rocks around their
bending.
legs or arms and just go.
Yeah, minerals
Exactly. And
are a
there's
form
also-
of earth,
Metal
and
bending.
your bones are technically comprised of that. That's interesting. They've never really.
Gone into
That and
There's a
you're
lot.
also able to like sink yourself underground.
Oh yeah, just go shoot and like up down to your neck in earth.
Exactly.
If you take bending at its like most like critical point, technically most things on this earth could be bended in some shape, way, or form by a certain element.
Mhm.
That's why on every game or anything, I usually pick the illusionist or manipulator.
You also get metal bending, which is pretty epic.
Exactly. I can make my own weapons in my own hands.
That's true.
How about you,
Are you
Dingo?
gonna come full circle and say
Wrong.
bending?
Maybe, I don't know.
You are not a free
earthbending.
spirit, bud.
I like earthbending a lot. One, because like I love that style of martial arts. I forgot what it's called, but it's so cool.
Fang
Because like
from Tekken, bro.
Fang from Tekken, he is one
It's
of my mains,
fast
bro.
and
but like it's defensive, but it's like it's strong, and when used offensively is like overwhelming. That's like what that style of martial arts is.
The elephant strength, bro.
It's like defense combined with just like, but like it's supposed to be like a defensive martial art, but when you attack, it's like you are meant to overwhelm your opponent with just like sudden.
Bro, break their posture.
Yeah, although airbending would be fun just because you get to fly.
Yeah. Oof.
Like, what else can you need? But also you can, technically, like
you
if
can roll the earth, you can ride a wave, you can ride your own
I mean,
sweat.
in real life,
you can ride magma.
People wouldn't be able to see what you were doing.
That is true.
Yeah, we could see it in animation.
You just get blowing around all over the place.
That's what people,
bro, what's happening?
So people when earthbends are like, what the front?
I think it's like one of the stealthiest forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, they don't see air unless there's leaves around you.
Yeah.
Pulling a Pocahontas.
Bro, pull their air out of their lungs and be like, what the fuck happened?
And I think an airbender removed from the teachings of monks is probably one of the most dangerous tools.
Korra.
It's just you remove the aspect of
peace,
detachment, and peace and love, and it's a very deadly force. I mean, you see Aang cut things down that aren't human. That can very well be a human.
I mean, if you can cut down a rock, you can cut down a human.
Yeah.
You could, suffocate people. You can literally take the air out their body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
But it also plays into the type of person you are to be an airbender.
Well, yeah, and I love the philosophy behind it, the freedom and how it's tied to monks. I think that's very.
Bruh,
accurate.
I would be an earthbender. I'd go visit the guru.
Guru Patik.
This is another interesting question. So you know how Iroh invents the ability to redirect lightning because he studied waterbending.
To use it in general.
Yeah, but what are some other combinations or interesting techniques that you could think of?
We have to keep in mind that it's not really.
It's not a combination.
It's developing a form.
Yeah.
Yes.
Utilizing a different bending's form. I think firebending is very closely tied to earthbending in a lot of its movements. It's rigid, at least the way the new age firebending teaches it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much you can gain from that. I guess they can gain a very defensive way of walling with
firewalls.
Firewalls and fire and shielding. They could develop an actual defense to firebending by studying earthbending. Yeah. That'd be a cool way to do it.
But as so far as magma, it's mostly earthbender territory, because it's mostly metal and rock.
That is true. It's technically just hyperheated rock.
Because
it's not really
magma bending is seen, but it's mostly used by earthbenders.
But the scene with Roku and Sozin on the volcano.
Yeah, but
Sozin bent the heat. He bent this. Remember when he was bending the steam?
Yeah.
So there's so much open-endedness to
But there's an
bending.
argument to that he is an avatar.
No,
Avatars are just
Sozin wasn't.
Oh, that's true.
He was just bending. Yeah, he's technically.
The thermal heat.
You could argue air bending, but not really. So
yeah, actually, fire is kind of OP because if you can remove, because literally that whole scene was just him removing
the heat.
You could remove.
It's technically heat
You could
bending.
remove one's heat from their body,
Well, it's technically
instantly
energy
killing them.
bending.
In a way,
Fire is
it really
energy.
kind of is.
Fire is energy. It's a form of energy.
That's why you
Heat
can
and
lightning
steam,
bend.
Yeah.
Because it's plasma.
Remember, y'all, energy never dies. It never goes out. It just turns into other things.
So that's very interesting.
It's
Actually,
heat energy.
every form of bending is just bending energy.
Yeah, it's heat and
It's just
energy.
taking form
Together.
that way. That's such a cool thing to think about. But imagine earthbenders learning how to fight an airbender.
Yeah.
I would do that just for the nimble.
Or earthbenders.
Yeah, almost like a drunken fist style earthbending.
That would be me.
Ooh,
Seeing an earthbender learn how to change the state that the earth is in would be interesting.
Well, they kind of do that.
Yeah, they do.
With sand.
Yeah.
But taking a rock and making it sand.
Well, yeah, she does that with grabbing.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
And the meteorite too. That was really cool. Meteor bending.
It also plays into metal bending though.
Metal bending is such an interesting topic.
It's kind of broken.
Because it's But yeah, the effectiveness is based totally on the impurity of the metal, which is really, really interesting.
You also get to see it blossom more in a more like mechanical setting,
Yeah,
which you see
setting.
what you see in Korra.
Yeah.
You don't really see that much in Avatar because it's like
Well, it's developing.
yeah,
You know,
it's just developing a factory
we
setting.
talk about how OP Toph is.
Yeah,
And Iroh. They're both hella.
or Katara, or Zuko.
I'd argue Toph is like the
She's the
single-handedly
strongest.
most talented bender when considering age.
Yeah.
Because she
Bro,
learned
is.
how to real earth bend.
I'll
yeah.
put her in the air though, see what she happens.
But like, it's incredible how her being blind led to her being a more effective earthbender.
Because her other things got hands.
Imagine a blind airbender and utilizing the air around the person to be able to feel things.
Echolocation!
That'd be not just sound, but like physically feeling the air touching things, because air touches everything.
Yeah, also just like air,
That's
because like
cool.
Toph uses like scientifically it would be like the movement of the particles in the earth,
Yes,
or like
Vibration.
air particles.
Seismogram.
it'd be the same concept.
Exactly, but
Everything's
like,
the same
air has
concept,
a
it's just vibration.
farther reach,
No.
That'd be
and
so
you can
OP.
also see stuff that's not on the floor.
So we could probably say that air and earth are probably the most effective for blind.
Probably.
Yeah.
Also, if you were deaf, you could probably just like amplify noises through the air.
You
And
also
maybe hear it. I'm not sure.
In the medium of Avatar the universe, you see disabilities be used in different ways in conjunction with bending. Like in Korra, there's an amputee who doesn't have arms, but she uses water bending to make her limbs,
It's true.
which is arguably a more effective way to
Yeah,
water.
yeah. But piggybacking off of the like how earthbending is like feeling the seismic waves. Technically, it's not even needing your hearing.
True.
Like, you know how like Beethoven, was it Beethoven?
Huh?
I think
The deaf one.
Yes.
Yes.
Man, I'm so sorry. I'm a music person and I don't know that. But yeah, like with Beethoven being deaf, like he would put his ear to the ground or to the piano to feel the vibrations to compose. So it was feeling based, and like the same concept can be applied to earth. Earthbending is kind of OP in that regard. You can just not have your sight or hearing, and still be able to effectively, even if anything, more effectively use your bending art. That's kind of like
Humans in general are just
Pretty
kind of OP.
insane. it's pretty. It's
Well, yeah,
pretty
because you
cool.
can read every movement.
When you put your
Yeah.
effort into it, you can make yourself strong.
Waterbending is really cool in the aspect that you mentioned earlier too, like how you can just flash freeze things.
Or make people's offense your defense.
It's like, yeah, and like you, like it's so versatile, like because water is the the second most malleable form of matter. So like utilizing that and like shaping, you can shape it into anything, freeze it, and use it.
Yeah,
And
I
like
think
and the hardness and the thickness of the ice can determine how effective a weapon you can make. That's pretty neat when you think about it.
That and the
I think
fact that
that-
it's the only bending that has any other property besides like or offense and defense, as it has medicinal properties as well.
oh yeah,
It's true.
healing fan. I can be the
Healing.
healer.
That is really cool.
The thing I like about waterbending also is just like the rhythm to combat it has. It's like kind of a song you play
Yeah.
with your combat.
It is cool. Like, because it's based on Tai Chi. I think it was based on Tai Chi.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah. It is really cool. Like, and I think it's also one of the most OP bendings just because I think it's the most closely related to energy bending in the sense of like how flowing and free flowing it is. But that's more of a Korra thing.
You can also breathe
Yeah.
underwater.
Yeah, that fight.
That's true.
Just make a
Azula-
bubble.
The Azula fight too. Just being able to breathe and melt the ice just around you
Yeah.
and trap enemies in that sense. Such a cool
It's,
thing.
it's just also like how plentiful it is. Atmosphere, your sweat.
Oh yeah, with the when she learned from Hama, like you can just take it out of anything. Like
out of grass,
that's
out of
OP.
trees.
That's pretty OP.
Even the swamp people, they were using the water and
and
plants.
the vines.
Yeah.
Yeah. That goes into something. What kind of bendings would you like to see that couldn't be attributed to the other ones? Mine would be like straight up like wood bending or like plant bending.
Plant bending.
Like being not just being like it's not the same as bending the water in the plant to move it,
Just
but the
actually-
plant matter itself. So like,
making it grow.
I know not many people would be thrilled about comparing it to Naruto, but like the wood style kind of jutsu stuff. Like, but imagine that with bending and like wrapping and using like vines and logs and just wood in general. Like, I think that'd be really interesting.
But people would argue that is water bending because there's water in all plants
But
to
when
some
you take,
degree.
but if you take out the moisture entirely out of it,
Like dry wood, then
Yeah.
yeah.
but there you go.
But what would you be around dry wood?
A desert.
You cut
Desert?
down a tree? But that's what you have
Cut
earth
down a
bending for.
tree. You have all that stuff.
I think there's a difference between taking all the moisture out and being able to bend it, considering the thickness of a tree.
Thick trees.
Because vines are inherently
Very loose.
So they're not rigid. They don't have like the was it cellulose?
Cellulose.
Yeah,
Biology. Come through.
big brain. See, this is why you listen to the podcast. But no, like I think
Pass your science exam.
it'd be really interesting, and like an offshoot of like wood bending could be like communication with plant life and being able to hear it, and it'd be closely tied to like the spiritual part of like airbending being the most spiritual form. Like, I think that'd be a pretty cool.
You know, I
offshoot.
just realized
Hmm.
if you could water bend at the cellular level, you could burst every living cell in your body. No, you really
I know.
could.
Well, yeah, you could. You could just break apart H2O.
Unless you're a plant,
yeah,
you're dying.
That's scary.
it's pretty scary.
You just go, and
You
your
wouldn't
cells,
even notice
your
it
cells
either.
would burst.
You just like die.
You would just die.
What about y'all?
I mean, is there really like anything else that you can't? I
Can.
mean,
Trying to think of
Polyester.
trying to think of ancient Chinese mythology because
Technically-
most
Plastic
films come from
bending.
there.
Technically, plastic is so like processed. I don't think you can process any other part of the elements of it.
yeah, plastic.
Everything.
Plastic is technically
And plastic isn't
probably
like
one
everything.
of the most effective ways of trapping a bender.
That's true.
See, I was thinking of like lightning, but that's technically already
Stop
part
it.
of fire.
Yeah.
Well, because like firebending, like you have to like it's just like very, very, very processed. It'd be interesting if you could just like
You know what'd be cool as fuck? If you could manipulate shadows.
shadow bending.
Light bending,
Yeah.
bro. Light bending.
Ooh.
People have talked about that.
That's kind of
What you
cool.
know about that?
Yeah, like light
bro?
refraction and like you can like bend the light around you and become invisible.
You can also bend the light out of people's eyes and they couldn't see.
You could also like amplify, like use light. to,
Solar
like,
flare.
yeah, and like amplify. Because then you'd be like, you could technically, because like there is energy in light.
True.
Energy
So-
bending.
So it could overlap with firebending.
Yeah, so you could
Ooh.
like heat things up and cool things down using light.
They could be like the bane of a firebender because the firebender will be producing light every time they
Yeah,
bend.
and you could just like take it away. That'd be cool.
Oh,
Well, I think if they
that'd
were to
be
ever-
so cool.
If they were to ever go further into Avatar as the universe, I think they would explore different
Yeah.
sects off of like the
Yeah.
core bending.
But shadow bending would be really cool too, because
Just-
that could also be a form of invisibility.
Imagine
And
sinking into the floor from your own shadow.
Oh yeah, and like fast travel. That'd be really cool.
That'd be funny looking.
Really cool.
That'd be
Not
so
3.
interesting. And, like, being able to bend shadow into a physical manifestation of something. Man,
That's
bending is so fucking
It's
awesome.
Yeah, but you create clones of your shadow, and they all like
Shadow
follow your movement.
clone jutsu.
Exactly.
No. What?
Except technically that's not what that is.
else could there
Because
be?
they're just shadows. They're black
Not
figures.
much.
Not.
Yeah,
clones.
not really.
Not really much.
Yeah, no, it's not really.
There's-
And like at the root of every bending is energy bending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Technically.
Yeah.
You know.
Galaxy bending, bro.
that's kind of what it is.
Bending space and time, bro.
That's what the spirits are for.
Kronos.
Oh, yeah, I guess that kind of wraps bending up in a nice package. Okay, each of our favorite characters.
Why are you asking? You
Oh, it's obviously Zuko.
Fuck you. Trash ass.
I think for me it'd be Katara.
Yeah.
Because I relate to her. I related to her personally as like when I was young. She was always my favorite.
Can you believe that she's received the most hate with the recent iteration of people watching Avatar?
Why?
She has received a lot of flack.
How come?
For what?
of like because of how motherly and how overbearing she is. This generation of people watching it for the first time on Netflix have given her a lot of shit, which is interesting, because that wasn't the case in. Well, was that the case in the original?
I mean, they kind of meme on her in the play.
Yeah, but no, like people really don't like her,
Wow.
which is very interesting.
I love Katara.
She's a great
I
character.
do too.
I like how she like is so kind, but is also so powerful.
A lot of girls can learn from her.
And we're not gonna go into that. We're not gonna go into that.
No, but it's. I don't understand the argument because they literally have an entire episode explaining why she's like that.
That's also like I think people confuse being kind with being motherly and overbearing, because she is a kind person, and like all of them are kind people,
Yeah.
right? But she is more kind than the others.
Well, I think the episode that shows that is the Painted Lady.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like, bye. Even Aang was like, bye.
You gotta do
But
what
she
you
was
gotta do.
like, nah, we're gonna help these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she had to grow up being a mom.
Yeah, she had no
She
mom
didn't
figure.
have no mom.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
Can it be a problem if you
Don't deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think she does a good job of like knowing. I think for me, it's just like that, like the way she's portrayed as being like, okay, she's like really, really, really nice to people, but then when it comes down to like needing to fight,
She's ready.
she's ready to fight.
Yep. The
Like,
first
and she don't
Zuko.
take no shit either.
The first Zuko redemption episode.
Yeah, exactly. When Zuko was like, "Hey guys, I'm nice," and she was like, "No, you're not."
No, you're not.
Yeah. She had a breaking point,
Yeah.
and he crossed it multiple times. And like the part where like she let him know, like if you do anything to step out of line, I'll end you right here, right now. Like she doesn't take shit. That's awesome. That's an awesome character trait. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just like her because I don't know. I mean, I'm just biased because she's my girl, you know. She's the OG. We
Yeah.
stand her, but I don't know. She's just okay. This is gonna sound ugly, but take of it what you will. I think Katara is a great female representation in animation depicted. She's feminine, but her femininity is never treated as a weakness.
That, and there's also two sides, because you also have Toph in the party, who is the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So me saying that you could learn a thing or two from Katara is not me being a feminist.
We're
no.
not
You
being
can learn from both
anti-feminist in this
sides.
household.
Because you know what?
Yeah.
They're both great female protagonists.
That's what I think they lost.
So learn
Korra's
both of
character.
them.
It's
it's
like
fine.
it's like there's not just one way to be
A girl.
Wow.
Who would have thought?
Or also, you know how Aang is portrayed as a feminine female person in the play.
Well,
And
we're
how
not going to
Toph
that.
is like, you know what? That's okay.
That goes into the whole argument of what masculinity and femininity truly is.
It's like,
That's a big brain.
That's big brain general
discussion.
stock that we'll have later.
but you know
Yeah.
what? It's okay. Do what
Social
you do.
concepts
Let's
are
have
great.
people
though.
to talk to. Then yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But what about you? What about you, Ding Dong?
Who is my?
Ding
Favorite
ding dong.
It can be between two.
Ding, ding, ding,
Because
ding.
I can't choose between two.
I could.
Bro, I got one.
Me too, fam. Me too.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of really
Great
good characters.
Yeah. You want to give Bubba his time? What do you think?
Bubba, talk about Iroh.
Of course, bro. Iroh is literally the greatest character in all of animation, bro. Gives you that wisdom, bro. And he's also strong, bro. He's a fat man, gets no T-shot, bro.
He's not fat, he's thick.
Exactly,
Bro,
and then he
but
becomes a
working out.
rib.
He's got the thickness.
Bro, he's getting a rib,
That was
bro.
hype.
Bro, he got his own T-shot.
He's big brain.
He's got his own secret code.
He does got it all.
This man's epic style. Literally, there is
Alright, Nephew, let me
nothing
show you my
bad
cult.
about Iroh.
Yeah, I think objectively he's the perfect character in Avatar.
He's
There's literally
amazing.
nothing wrong.
He's
with
so
him.
wise.
He's so
Even voice acting,
amazing,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah, going back to me, I think I'd have to say Sokka
Yeah.
because he's just.
I could see that.
He's like. He's like the perfect balance of he's funny, clever. He's not necessarily smart, but he's clever. But But I guess he kind of is smart.
Oh, he's smart.
Because
He's
because
smart.
the episode with haikus, he just comes in and just starts spitting haikus like nothing, bro.
He's also their tactician.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, that goes. I mean, yeah, smart and clever do kind of go hand in hand. But he's also he has his fair share of problems.
Mhm.
But he I feel like out of all of the people in Team Avatar, I think he understands what his problems are the most
Yep.
and addresses them the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he ends up like the happiest.
Yeah.
He
And
got his
Mhm.
grill.
like he has like I think the most completed character arc.
Can we say he's the
Him-
smoothest too?
He is the smoothest, bro.
I think he
I
has,
don't know, bro. Iroh got the smooth too,
You're
bro.
he has the most accomplished relationship
That's
by the end
true.
of the
Oh, yeah.
series.
It's the most stable one.
But
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to Jung Jung. Now he's not like a major character,
That's true.
but he did kind of that's the first firebending.
Oh yeah, the one who
master.
warned to Aang about the
Yeah.
duality of fire.
But I think it was really cool how he was kind of like Iroh, but not as involved.
Yes.
But he was still very wise in the fact that he let Aang know firebending is very destructive if you don't
Yeah.
know how to control it.
He
Aang
probably
learned that.
foreshadowed the true
Yeah.
nature of firebending, which is cool.
I think he was. I also like his just character design with the
Yeah.
old
The fro.
He's also, a nomad.
scraggly white hair. Yeah, that was cool. I liked him.
Yeah.
And how he was the first legendary person to ever lead the Fire Nation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
He gets props in my book just for that, bro. But damn. Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of flack because I'd probably say Azula,
Bro.
and I'm gonna get flack from people in this room. No, it's between Aang and Azula, as basic as that is. I think what I love about Azula is there are actually just positives in her character. I feel like she was the most focused individual in the entire series. As far as just being a force of nature.
Mm-hmm.
It was exemplified in the beginning of book 2, and her hunting the team down. She was just non-stop, but she was also so smart and being able to break down people, in her bringing down a Bossing Say and just breaking down Long Feng to the T, just laying him out in front of his own people and talking about his story and how he wasn't even a player in his own game at 14 years old. It's just holy shit. This is one of the most badass fucking antagonists ever.
I think she really is the true villain.
Eh,
Because Ozai's the big bad,
I wouldn't
but
call her
she's the main
villain.
end. She's
The main antagonist, but
Yeah.
he's the main villain.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she was nearly impossible for the team to overcome at a point. And it took all of them together to beat her by herself. That says a lot. And her being a firebending prodigy was it was a really cool and unique. And I don't know. I love the tragic nature of her character because she is a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
She's very little of her own decision. There's not a lot of her that's herself. And that in itself is tragic. She is basically Ozai. Just that, it was just him transferring all of him into her, trying to make her into the perfect weapon, and it's a really interesting topic, talking about the daughter-father relationship and how it can be obsessive,
Mm-hmm.
and they really kind of tackled that issue. He was her everything, everything, gaining his approval was her drive. And when she lost that and her friends, nothing was left. And that's why she was just unhinged to the point of because the moment when he was just leaving her, I think she really realized that the Fire Lord title was nothing. And I think she really realized it at the end. He left me. That was it. He used me and successfully utilized me to take over Ba Sing Se, the last Earth Kingdom capital. I had no more use because he got his due title. And it's just really you can't help but feel for her. Yeah, she's a bitch. Yes, she is a mega bitch most of the show. Is that entirely her fault? considering she's made probably like an amount of decisions for herself probably you can count on your hand. It's just like it's hard to say, you know. It's really sad. Like I don't know. I really, she's such a complex and like I think she's one of the most like fleshed out characters too in that regard.
Definitely one of the most important.
Yeah, you know, and what's cool like she has a dichotomy with like Aang too. Like Aang losing everything and having to bear that at such a young age. And to just expected to just brush it off and deal with the world's problems was really like it was really awe-inspiring. But like how he took it in stride, it took time, but he really did take it in stride and decided to denounce everything else and realize just because I lost everything in this life doesn't mean I have to ignore everything in this one. Like he had a lot in front of him that was worthwhile and could heal that hole in his heart that his people left. And I guess like the real dichotomy, I know there's like a lot of dichotomy between Aang and Zuko, but I feel like there's a real dichotomy to analyze between Aang and Azula. I think they're two sides of the same coin. Azula's one way Aang could have gone, and Aang is the other side. Like, his you could say like Aang's pretty obsessive with certain things, and like he's all in with a lot. But like if you let that go to a degree, then you get Azula. Mm-hmm. And if you get an Aang that couldn't handle loss, you get Azula. So like I think it's very interesting how they kind of like Aang and just the royal family in general kind of like line up. Aang was kind of the antithesis of the royal family itself. He was showing them how he was a byproduct of love and that weakness that they pointed out, and yet was more powerful than all of them. So like I think that I know people say that like the royal family and like Ozai were kind of boring villains, and while I can understand that,
it's not like them themselves as the villain. It's like an ideology and the system that is built upon them is the villain.
Yeah, and how opposed they are to the main protagonist. I think that's really strong, But yeah, between those two, I think they're really good.
Interesting.
I think it'd be interesting to see.
Crack ships aside.
Like, I think it'd be interesting to see an Avatar that's like, or an Avatar series that's a bit for like more mature audiences.
That isn't cool.
A little bit darker.
That kind of is, but like they still were limited.
Bro, let me see Tremor from Mortal Kombat.
Like we're talking about if like Avatar was on Netflix or Adult Swim and they were able to be more adults.
Yeah.
Korra was more teenage.
That and like
it was in the right direction, just not there.
They couldn't
like,
go
like a proper like young adult, like 18 to like 20 something.
With the limitations of Parasite.
Yeah, that and with like some better animation. I think it would be really cool to see.
They can tell their story
that they would tell.
Because it's like, it sucks, but like, most of the Avatar media out there, besides like the books, most of the animation, they've been limited by Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
By most of their stuff they wanted to tell.
And even the comics themselves, I don't know, it wasn't even like the platform that enabled them to tell what they really wanted to tell, Because like you lose a lot of the fluidity of like animation in martial arts. When you have it frame by frame, it's a little harder to translate that, and I think it's harder. Like they lost out on that.
I think plot-wise, the comics though are great. You disagree?
I disagree, but I understand.
Yeah,
I do understand.
But we also have different things that
it's frustrating to let go of the prospect of what Book 4 could have been.
Yeah.
Had the live action movie never existed.
And
it's also frustrating how they let us know, we had this planned, but we didn't.
But hey, that can change.
They would have to make the comics non-canon.
Do you think they would? I don't think they would really care that much.
It's possible with how popular it
They've
is right
many
now.
anime. I guess a lot of animated
Or
formats
if
have done
anything,
that.
or if anything,
Star Wars did it.
yeah, with Clone Wars.
Well,
they
with the
also-
whole book series.
Yeah, the whole extended universe. They said
They
nope.
just nope. Yeah. I don't know.
about mitochondrial count.
All I want is my Azula redemption arc. That's all I want.
All I want is for Iroh to do the Avatar.
I want more Avatar medium. Please and thank you, Netflix.
Bro, it would be cool if they had. Why didn't they
They need-
why didn't they do what ifs with the comics?
Exactly, they need a
That's-
what if.
That's the format for what ifs. It's
Yeah.
the format. Like what if
What if Iroh was? What if Zuko was?
what if Zuko was the Avatar?
What if
One of the
Toph was?
questions like asked the most.
Yeah.
Bro, what if the Avatar was a bad apple and decided to kill everything?
I think no.
And then
I think
reflect
there's
upon himself and
there's
then be sad for
There's a
eternity.
block to that because
There's a failsafe just
Yeah,
because
because
you have all
Ava-
your past
yeah.
lives.
Bush would be like, boy, if you don't stop it right
Yeah,
now.
like the fight, bro. They went.
But is that?
"Boy."
But you can't fight yourself. It's physically not
no,
like.
I feel like they could take over your body. Think about it. Most of the time, Aang got out of the Avatar state was because Katara was there and she was like, please stop. And he was
Bro.
like, okay.
All of the avatars would be like they just notice that he's a bad apple, be like, nope. And next one, let's go. Next in the cycle.
They hijack his body, kill him, dead.
Alright, that's so funny.
That could feasibly happen.
No,
though.
but like, what if the hatred is like so immense that like he himself can overpower every Avatar?
That's getting into theoreticals.
Exactly, and that is a what if. That
That's
is the whole
interesting.
point.
Or it'd be like, what if there was just like.
An anti-hero Avatar.
Well, like, or imagine there was just like Ozai, somebody like more evil than Ozai, who like actually does take over the world, but on top of that, just plans on killing everybody. Would there be like an Avatar that would like completely throws morals out the window just to stop that force of evil?
That'd be
They
interesting.
kind of explained that with
Well,
Kyoshi.
Kyoshi was kind of
Yeah,
that.
she was that. She was like, I would have done anything to stop him.
That's true, but she's still like I don't think Kyoshi was.
I don't think she
pushed
ever
that
threw
far.
out
Yeah.
everything in
Yeah.
her ideals and stuff.
I mean, she.
like
She didn't care that he
Superman of
died.
Avatar.
I'm interested also, like, because like Korra kind of touched upon this a little bit about like how did the well, no, they actually did answer that because like the had Ozai accomplished annihilating every other bending form,
Oh yeah.
nationality. What would the Avatar cycle do? Because it had to go to the next bending. But technically, we've already talked about spoilers. Who the fuck cares?
If you haven't
But yeah,
watched
like,
Korra,
yeah.
please do.
But like, yeah, in Korra, damn, you guys haven't seen it. Do you guys care?
I don't
Nope,
know.
I do
It's
not
real
care.
old.
Okay, but yeah, no, because there were no more air nomads and no other airbenders other than Aang's kids, the world did a shoop, and like the spirits kind of like resynchronized the world and gave people airbending.
That's interesting.
So I think that answers the question of if he had done that, the world just probably would have just had a baby in any like just be born with that
That.
capability, which is interesting. You know, like I don't know. It would be interesting for them to talk about like how the cycle would work if there are also new nationalities created.
Ooh, imagine like a tribe of waterbenders that just live underwater because they could.
Ocean man.
What about Atlantis?
Atlantis
Bro.
waterbenders.
Mole people.
Being able to control the sea serpents, bro.
That would be cool.
But yeah, I think we pretty covered everything, right?
Wait, hold on. One question. Did they ever? So they mentioned that Earthbenders, like the animals for Earthbenders, are the badger
Animals.
ones.
Yes.
The Firebenders are dragons.
Yes.
And the Airbenders are the air bison.
Oh god.
Yes.
What's
Oh,
the
you got me.
waterbenders?
It's the moon.
No, it's the fish.
Wait, what is
What?
happening?
It's the moon.
Yeah.
They talked
The
about
moon.
it.
Water is
Oh.
the moon, yeah.
Huh.
It makes scientific sense
It
too.
does, but
The
Gravity
moon
In
is
our
not an
world,
animal.
in our world, the moon is the first waterbender because
Well,
it forms the tides.
To go into Korra spoilers, the origin of bending comes from the lion turtles.
Lion turtles.
Yeah,
That's
it comes
whack.
from them. They
Um,
gave it to people. Not
I
the
know
spirits.
people are gonna hate on me, man. I act like
No, that's a good opinion.
I act like that origin doesn't exist.
it
Yeah.
does feel very like
That's a valid
uninspired
opinion.
compared
Well,
to
you
the
know,
rest of
for
it.
me, it's just like they went into just such depth to explain everything. It removes all of the mystique. none of it matters anymore. There's no thinking about it. It's just, this is how it was.
Yeah, it
You
went,
don't need to think
went
about
from
it anymore.
Zuko's theme to not having any theme.
It's like whack. It's just like, I don't know.
Me
man.
personally, I liked it.
I know. I understand liking it too. The story wasn't half bad told. Like Avatar 1 was cool.
He was
like
right.
how he became the first Avatar was cool.
He played
I
the
also
top.
just hate the idea of the Avatar not being a force of nature. It's just a spirit. I don't know. That's
yeah.
my take. Is just kind of that's whack because it boiled it down to good and evil.
Yeah.
And that's so I hate that. You had such a non-black and white kind of storytelling in your protagonists and antagonists.
They pulled the Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, no, and it's
They
like,
pulled
but
a
no,
Disney.
it's just the light spirit that takes over each person.
Okay, now we're talking about Korra. We're not talking about Korra.
Yeah, you know that's.
We're getting too into Korra.
Please understand the people listening. I don't hate Korra in its entirety. There are really good moments in it.
I can vouch for that.
I
He doesn't hate Korra.
love book 4. The whole earth bending like. I enjoyed a lot of Korra. But there was also a lot I didn't enjoy. But that's for another day.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have podcast episodes in the future where we don't have all 4 people. Just have 2 people and have them be like 30-minute long little mini things.
Let me talk about
You know?
Korra.
Or if you want us to review Legend of Korra and watch all of it for your
Why y'all gonna force
for
me,
your
bro?
listening pleasure,
Why not do this?
let us know.
Stop being negative about Korra.
Yes,
I'm gonna cry
you
now.
must give us 10,000 likes on this video.
I'll make them watch Korra
1
again.
million subs.
I've never
bro.
seen it.
For the people, I got y'all guys.
No.
I mean, I will say, like, I did watch the first episode when it originally
And you were like,
aired.
damn, bro.
And like the setting just did not do it. Like, I'm all for
What is it again? I forgot what it was called.
Republic City?
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's just like so. Like, I'm all for. I mean, I guess this could be another
Progress.
topic for another day. But like, I'm all for like having stories set in the same universe. But when you have something like Avatar: The Last Airbender,
So
where the
well
characters are so well done, the world is so well done, and you have a continuation that's in the same universe, and like
And then you're like, nah,
it's just
we're not gonna go into that anymore.
it's just so hard not to one compare it to the original characters, and then two not miss the original characters because that's what you came to enjoy, and then now you're just like, oh, here's like more new characters, and they just kind of like it just feels so different, but it's still the same universe, and it's hard to
Different isn't inherently bad,
Yeah.
but they have to do it well.
yeah. I think
You can't have. I'm sorry. It's hard like when you make such an amazing series,
mhm.
you set yourself up for high expectations.
Yeah.
Can I
You
give
have
a
to
hot
accept
take?
that. Yeah.
Can I give
Sure.
a hot take? Okay. My hot take is, not saying that y'all are like this.
Oh no, there's
I
a lot
think
of blind haters.
There's a lot of blind haters
Yeah.
who just look at Korra and they're like, it's different, it's bad.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, why?
Yeah. Different isn't bad.
I'm gonna agree
Bro, that goes
with.
for everything.
I'm gonna agree.
Too.
I'm gonna agree. Korra isn't the best, and to say it is your opinion, but my opinion is not the best. But it also isn't like completely garbage. I've watched completely garbage shows, and that show is not a completely
Bro,
garbage
talk about
show.
Jeepers Creepers 3, bro. The
Not
best
even
movie
that, just media in
all
general.
of
There is poo-poo
existence.
shows. At least Korra kind of knows what they're doing with their story, at least.
That's another time.
Don't you-
For another time.
No.
That's another. Yeah. We'll talk about Korra in another
As you
day.
can tell, we're very young.
But we're not gonna be negative about it.
Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
promise you that.
Bro, it's beautiful. Which one?
Because there's enough fucking YouTube videos about why Korra's garbage.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah.
it's just like, it reminds me of Ruby, of how people are just like, oh, it's garbage.
I mean,
Wait. Do you remember what our podcast's name is called? That Ain't Meta. So we ain't against that meta shit.
well,
We
I
ain't with
mean,
that beta shit.
I'm in the boat that there's always something good to be found in something, unless you're watching Jeepers
Yeah,
Creepers.
that's just
Yeah, and we'll end with that.
You'll live by that.
It's just the end.
Alright, but yeah, let us know if you want us to review anything else.
Pizza.
I hope you enjoyed our hot takes and opinions.
Yeah.
Let us know if you want to hear more.
Yeah. Then let us know if you want us to talk about like something specific in Avatar.
If you do, send us emails at ThatAin'tMeta@gmail.com.
Don't flood it though.
No apostrophes and all locals.
Yep.
Alright.
Don't hack, you little shit.
Don't hack us, please.
Alright, signing out.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bitch.